It's hot cockle summer here in England, and you know what that means, right? Yep, it's hot cockle summer everywhere. You can take me out of England, but you can't take the England out of me. Thank you for joining me today. As always, I want to thank you all for your support. You are all amazing. Now let's get into this video. In the sweltering summer of July 1518, in the medieval city of Strasbourg, then nestled in the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, a strange madness gripped the streets unlike anything ever seen before. It began without warning. A woman known only as Frau Trophäa stepped into the narrow cobbled lane outside her modest home and began to dance. But this was no joyous celebration, no festival waltz. Her arms flailed with violent intensity, her feet stomped against the stone with unnatural vigor, and her face held no trace of pleasure, only blankness, as if she were under some unseen spell. She danced for hours, then into the night, and then into the next day. When concerned neighbors tried to intervene, she pushed them away, unable or unwilling to stop. And then, something even more bizarre happened. People started joining her. Within days, dozens of residents, compelled by an invisible force, joined the dance, spinning and stomping with wild abandon. No music played. No audience cheered. These were not performers, but victims. Their bodies contorted, drenched in sweat, bruised and bleeding, yet they could not stop. Within a week, their number had grown to over 30. By the end of the month, there were more than 400 afflicted. Panic swept through Strasbourg. The city's leaders and physicians scrambled to explain what they were witnessing. There was no plague, no fever, no signs of possession. The leading medical minds of the day blamed hot blood, an excess of bodily humors that, they believed, needed to be purged through more dancing. And so, in one of the most chilling misjudgments in medical history, authorities cleared out guild halls and built wooden stages, even hiring musicians in hopes that by allowing the dance to run its course, the sickness would burn out. But the strategy backfired. The music seemed to inflame the madness. The dancing grew more frenzied. People collapsed from exhaustion, their feet torn and bloodied, some foaming at the mouth, others screaming as if in torment. Eyewitnesses reported seeing dancers continue even after they had passed out, spasming in rhythmic jolts as if puppeteered by unseen hands. Death came not from violence but from within. Strokes, heart attacks, sheer physical collapse. Some dancers died where they stood, only to be replaced by new victims the following day. The city had turned into a theater of the absurd and horrifying. Mothers danced while their children wept. Old men spun until their legs gave out. Priests looked on in helpless silence. The horror became a citywide crisis, baffling not just local officials but chroniclers throughout Europe. For this wasn't the first time such madness had occurred. In 1374, nearly 2 centuries earlier, dozens of towns along the Rhine River had reported similar outbreaks of uncontrollable dancing. But those were sporadic. Strasbourg's plague was unprecedented in scale and duration. The question was, why? Scholars across the centuries have debated the cause. One popular theory is ergot poisoning, a fungus that grows on rye bread and produces effects similar to LSD. Ergotism could, in theory, cause hallucinations, seizures, and convulsions. But critics point out that ergot typically affects individuals, not entire crowds, and rarely causes prolonged, coordinated movement. Others argue it was a case of mass psychogenic illness, what we now call mass hysteria, brought on by extreme psychological stress. The region had recently suffered failed harvests, political instability, and disease. Life was brutal. Faith in the church was waning. Many believed divine punishment was near. The atmosphere was ripe for spiritual breakdown. The dancing, then, may have been a subconscious rebellion, a frantic, embodied expression of the pain, fear, and helplessness buried deep within the population. But even that theory fails to explain the mechanics. Why dancing? Why such physical coordination? Why no voluntary escape? Then there are the more supernatural theories, that the dancers were cursed, bewitched, or possessed, or some believe the outbreak was linked to the cult of Saint Vitus, a Christian martyr believed to punish sinners with involuntary dancing. In fact, The phenomenon was often called St. Vitus's dance. During the plague, authorities eventually marched the dancers to a mountaintop shrine to pray for deliverance, and only then, miraculously, perhaps coincidentally, the outbreak slowed and finally ceased. But by then, dozens had died, hundreds were injured, and Strasbourg had become the epicenter of one of history's most haunting unsolved events. What makes the dancing plague so disturbing isn't just the mystery, it is how quickly it was forgotten. The chronicles recorded it briefly. Then the world moved on. The victims were buried, the stages dismantled, the musicians sent home, and the city returned to normal, as if the madness had never occurred. Yet beneath the surface the fear lingered. What if it happened again? What if the same invisible force returned? Modern parallels offer little comfort. Throughout history, episodes of mass psychogenic illness have occurred. Laughter epidemics in Tanzania, fainting spells in schools, even modern-day TikTok tics caused by social media exposure. But nothing has matched the scale or strangeness of Strasbourg 1518. No event has replicated the sheer intensity of people dancing themselves to death. It sits in the annals of history like a splinter, impossible to ignore but difficult to explain. No wonder so many explanations have been proposed. Broadly speaking, the theories fall into three camps. First, the cultural. This explanation highlights the social and historical context of the dancing plague, arguing that intense communal stress triggered the outbreak. Failed harvests, religious fervor, and economic hardship made Strasbourg in 1518 a pressure cooker of discontent. Some historians suggest that the dancing was a form of protest, an outlet for frustrations that could not be expressed otherwise. Second, the medical. Here the focus is on the physical aspects of the dancing plague, exploring potential toxins, pathogens, or physiological factors that could induce uncontrollable dancing. The ergotism hypothesis, linking the dancing plague to a rye-bred fungus, is a prominent example. Finally, the supernatural. This perspective views the dancing plague as a manifestation of spiritual forces beyond our understanding. Whether demonic possession, divine retribution, or some otherworldly influence. The connection to St. Vitus, a saint venerated for protecting against dancing mania, is a key element here. While these categories are distinct, the reality is likely more complex. The dancing plague may have resulted from a toxic brew of cultural, medical, and even psychological elements. Unraveling this complexity is crucial not just for understanding this singular event, but also for grasping the multifaceted nature of human experience. In essence, the dancing plague compels us to confront the unsettling truth that the darkest chapters of human history often defy simple categorization or comprehension. It resists neat explanations, forcing us to confront the unsettling reality that sometimes the most terrifying mysteries are the ones we can't solve. So what do you think? Is there any other explanation for this mysterious outbreak? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, check out this playlist where I cover weird historical events. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me. Your support helps me keep bringing you these videos. Thanks again. Take care.